Hello and welcome to ET Auto. Today we are joined by Mr. Rakesh Srivastava, who's former MD of Nissan India, and Mr. 𝗥𝗸𝗗𝗵𝗁𝗀𝗗𝗃, who is the founder of XLRI India. Both have a very diverse experience working with OEMs, and today we are discussing a very important and very interesting topic, that is limited editions and unlimited ambitions of car makers. What is the shortcut to, we say, sales? Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So first of all, 𝗥𝗸𝗗𝗵𝗁, I would like to ask from you about what is the psychological edge about limited editions? Why do car makers keep on launching these limited editions, be it black or red?
Okay, limited editions to me anyway is a very, let's say, European or a very, I would say it's more of a European phenomenon, you know, where you don't have too many examples of American brands of the 1960s and 70s really launching limited editions. Okay, it's the Europeans who do that because what they feel is that in a very mature market, okay, they would do special things to their products which would appeal to a special kind of a customer, or they would celebrate a certain milestone, okay, which would attract the customer to that particular milestone or that cause, or they attach themselves to a certain cause and they do that. Now that works very well in the case of very mature, highly advanced markets in terms of, you know, when you're segmenting the minds of different kinds of customers. I mean, I remember, for example, when I used to work for Peugeot, every French Open, so Peugeot would launch something called the Roland Garros model. Okay, so the RV edition was a limited numbers. It would, the upholstery would typically be in the color of clay, okay, with green piping and so on. More of cosmetic, not so much mechanical, and the people would, you know, so the French who typically love the milestone of the French Open or Roland Garros, they would go ahead and buy it. In India, I think this limited edition concept was basically brought in more as a marketing tool, okay, to keep the interest in the brand alive, especially when you had very large gaps between when a model was launched and when a model was actually refreshed or finally made way for the next variant or next edition. Okay, so in between for this period of those 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, okay, how do you continue to retain consumer interest? And that's when you use this particular marketing tool called a limited edition. I think that is how it all started in India. I mean, I haven't come across any examples of limited editions of, say, companies like Hindustan Motors or Premier, okay, or even the first, let's say, 10 years of Maruti, any concept called limited editions. But I guess as the market grew, as consumer expectations also kept growing, okay, so the consumer would typically look at, okay, this model came out in this particular year, for the next 10 years they have made no change.
Right.
So there's nothing exciting about this particular product. And that's when you would say, okay, let me do, you know, intermediate, let's say, interventions, okay, of a largely cosmetic nature, okay, which would keep the interest in the product alive till the time I'm waiting for the next particular variant or the edition to come out. Now, does it still remain relevant in the Indian market? I don't think so, quite frankly, personally, because gestation periods have got hugely compressed.
Yeah.
Okay, today you are looking at new products coming out in the next 2 to 3 years,
Right.
which typically used to be the time plan of what we used to call a minor body change or a minor facelift.
Yeah.
Okay, which is when you're now coming with a complete change,
Right.
right? Given technology, given SDV, given also the speed of even clay modeling,
Right.
okay, all those things, you're doing that. Therefore, will limited editions work? Limited editions as we have seen them till now will not work.
Okay.
That's my take.
So, Rakesh sir, based on your experience, your extensive experience at Maruti, Hyundai, and then Nissan, what is that car makers have of launching these limited edition? Because is it exclusivity that customers feel, the rare models that they would like to own, What is your view on that?
I'll just add on to what Avik said, right? When you look at limited editions, these are brought on product to give a differential experience, a different experience, right, towards it. So it's a combination of product and experience around. As it is related to the product, at the end of the day, right, every product has a product life cycle.
Right.
In that product life cycle, you're looking forward towards right from the launch to a minor change, then a major change, and a full model change. The time span in some is actually shrinking, and some of the OEMs, right, when they have launched the product, largely because of the regulatory challenges or their own supply challenges that they have or the design challenges, it tends to expand. So it's not uniform for everyone, that it is shrinking, and for some of them it is actually becoming larger, right, because many of the products that are brought into India by some of the OEMs are basically global products designed globally with the supply chain being at the global level.
Right.
Now, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever it is, right, this is the reality of life, right, of some of the OEMs. Here, most of the products, right, if you look at it, largely a product would succeed in the marketplace on the strength of differentiation.
Right.
And that is the core formula for any success, is that if the differentiation is strong, right, you have a different target segment or a larger target segment of customers coming in. Most of the products are largely designed on customer insights, taking into the regulatory challenges of the marketplace that they are operating in. Here comes in is that many times, because of these challenges, either the regulatory challenges there or the customer insight was not adequate or things had changed, and that is where suddenly you launch a product and you have a challenge of a different nature.
Right.
So while, as Avik said, that these were supposed to be brought in as marketing initiatives to handle the product life cycle, right, towards addressing it, but many times these are brought in towards addressing sales challenges.
Okay.
Where you launch a particular product and it doesn't take off, and what do?
Right.
You have a supply chain
Right.
which is actually committed to you.
Right.
They have invested, and what do?
Right.
So you tend to create limited editions or special editions. So rather than becoming special, they become a regular, okay, towards addressing this.
Right.
And somewhere, this is the biggest of the challenge that we have always seen in the auto industry.
Right.
And there are numerous examples in the marketplace.
Right.
Special has to be special, not regular. Take example like, I can give you a parallel. Take the wristwatch industry, right, where you have those premium and luxury brands, etc. They bring out limited editions only to limited number of pieces.
Right.
There is a pride of ownership,
Right.
right, and you're looking forward towards, right, buying that. Right. You're looking forward towards even paying a premium,
Right.
right. There you're not addressing a challenge towards the sales part, you're bringing it out towards, right, enhancing the positioning of the particular product that you have brought into the marketplace. Here we have a differentiation.
Got it.
Right? But unfortunately, right, most of the limited editions that have been launched in India have been largely launched towards addressing sales challenges where products have not gone really right. Some which had really gone right, I can take an example of a limited edition that was brought in Fiat Palio, Sachin Tendulkar edition,
S2.
right, S2. That was one good success. Wrangler again, right, if you look at it, Rubicon is one that's brought in there. BMW does well in terms of, take example, the minis that they create, right, various edition, and they add value to it rather than addressing gaps. If a limited edition is being brought in, right, with a thought that this is my current product, to enhance or to make the product life cycle better, right, addressing this, on the same positioning I add value.
Right.
Not that we brought in a product and we realize there is a gap, right, and the gap comes in, and then the additions are brought in not on the strength of market insights, but on the insights of the field team saying this is not clicking, right, and you need to address the gap. So there are two ways to look at it, marketing and there is a sales part. Unfortunately, if it's coming from the sales angle to address, a failure or a particular success that has not been made, then it's a challenge. So overall, that's the reason why most of the limited editions in India have not succeeded.
Right.
I can give you some examples which succeeded. There's like, take example is Hyundai Creta, right? The SX edition was brought in 2017 in petrol and diesel. This was on top of the topmost variant because suddenly the customer had evolved and he was seeking more, right, and seeking different, and that brought in differentiation, right, from a C segment SUV, and he was wanting to mirror the D segment aspirations. That addressed it. Maybe if I can take an example from Nissan, right, where we brought in Red Edition, did not meet customer expectations. Right. But when we brought in the 𝗏𝗏 Edition, right, it was a far better success than the Red Edition because there was content that was brought into the limited edition, special edition, and that actually gave a new leaf or a new life to the product.
So there's so much to talk about, but as you mentioned, it's more marketing driven than sales driven, field executive insights. There are about 45 to 60 models that are limited edition presented in India and driving only merely 45,000 to 60,000 sales units annually, and that is very minuscule number when compared to the numbers launched. But why? What is the reason behind this? Like, or what could be the reason that can make these a more success? Not in just numbers, but in the brand perception, creating that loyalty of the customers, not just increasing product life cycle.
Yeah, simple. There's just one answer to this: relevance. If what you're offering to the customer is not relevant, it's got to be relevant to the customer either emotionally, largely emotionally, or functionally. So if it is neither, and I'm, as Rakesh correctly said, I mean, I remember when in the marketing function would get those things, product not doing well, why are you marketing guys sitting on your backsides, do something. What do? The first thing you think is, let's do some campaign. Campaigns don't work. Yeah. So what you do is, how do you demonstrate the campaign? Let's put some stickers on the car, okay, add some colors onto the wheels, or do some ugly wheel caps, change the upholstery and call it a limited edition. I mean, is that really what the customer wants? Does not. I'll give you one example of a limited edition which in my career happened by accident, but to me is at least a high point of my career, and I think a lot of people in Maruti who were actually involved in that project. This is when we did a limited and proper limited edition of the Zen 3-door. We sold only 600 numbers. So this was not a limited edition which was lasting, ad infinitum. Only 600 numbers. The problem was that we had 600 body shells of the 3-door Zen, which we used to export to Europe, which were lying with us. What do? Okay, so being the Zen product group, okay, my team members came up with this plan that let's do a limited edition and sell them in India. Initially, people thought preposterous. I mean, how can a 3-door sell in India? Now, we took that problem as the opportunity. The opportunity was, this is what people drive in Germany.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what people drive in the UK.
Right.
This is the Zen that people drive in France.
Creates that aspiration.
Yes.
So suddenly, if you are the youngster, if you are the young software guy in Bangalore,
Right.
okay, wanting to be seen as being global, this is what you want.
Right.
And it's again not going to last forever. So we took those 600, made 2 editions, the Zen Carbon, which was black, and the Zen Steel, which was silver. Every vehicle was numbered. 001 of 300, 00057 of 300.
Wow.
Each vehicle came with a letter which was written by the team, the engineering team and the design team that worked on the product, to the customer, thanking the customer. Each customer at time of delivery actually got a key ring which was numbered.
Right.
So if your vehicle was 001 of 300, the key ring was also 001 of 300. That is what, according to me, was possibly, at least in my career, a very good example of a proper limited edition, because we suddenly sold aspiration, as you correctly said.
Right.
So, and then we went ahead and tried to find out that who are the people who are buying this.
Yes.
So this was in 2003. Okay, this was the young India that was buying it. This was the new. This was the millennial who was buying the product.
Right.
Okay, we came across young ladies working in software companies who bought one carbon and one steel.
Right.
Okay, saying that, you know, I wanted to buy both of them because both of them are such different personalities in the same 3-door edition. Now that is when a limited edition is relevant. To me, you know, Maruti has been my alma mater. Okay, Maruti to me lost a huge opportunity in not creating a 40th anniversary edition. Okay, each product of theirs, possibly just 40 numbers or maybe 400 numbers, okay, but numbered, tastefully, beautifully done, so that people actually buy them as not just as cars, they buy them as memorabilia. When you buy, when you want to, you don't want to buy it, you want to own it. Okay, that is when a limited edition has real relevance. And the biggest relevance is the emotional relevance. So I still know quite a few people who take pride in the Zen carbon or the Zen steel that they own till date. Okay, and they tell me and they send me messages saying that there's a gentleman in Kolkata who runs a very large transport company. Okay, he still drives his Zen steel by himself, and he says even today when I go to a fuel station, people keep looking at the back of the car saying, where are the other 2 doors? Okay, so that's the beauty of the limited edition.
Right.
Its relevance, its emotional connect. As Rakesh correctly said, if you just do simple cosmetic things and you just paste them on, or you plaster them on the vehicle, customer is just much too clever and mature enough to understand.
So I'll just add on to what Avik is saying is that because I was part of that journey, right, when the carbon was launched, right, in Zen, and it came in, right, from a strategic angle, not from a tactical angle. And the strategy was to enhance the aspirational level of Zen to the next level. When you bring in with that purpose in mind, right, that okay fine, I am addressing the aspirational quotient, not looking forward towards bringing in, right, a certain amount of volume which we have missed because we went wrong in terms of our strategy, then this clicks. So first and foremost is the purpose of bringing in the limited edition. If it is marketing, if it is addressing the aspirational quotient, if it is addressing saying that hey, there is a certain segment of buyer which I can now tap into it because the mother brand or the core of the brand, right, is now stronger, and this is where it does not deviate from the positioning of the product. Many times when you look forward towards the limited editions that are special editions that are brought in, they are in divergence to the core positioning of the product itself. Because initially you are trying to actually look forward towards bringing in a particular product, addressing a particular segment, and suddenly you become tactical. And when you become tactical, then you are not talking the positioning or you are not talking the brand, you are talking a feature on the product. And when you start selling features,
Right.
then you are not onto the purpose, right, where exactly, then you are not building up the aspirational levels. And this is where, right, I believe, right, it was very well done, because when the Zen Carbon were launched, it was launched only for a certain number of units.
Right.
It was not a sales tool or a sales, right, to garner more sales, because Zen itself was a very strong brand, and it was just adding on to it. And that is where the biggest difference is. One, the purpose. Don't deviate on the positioning. Be relevant to the core customer of yours.
Right.
Right? And whatever you bring in, right, the differential, right, no, the differentiation should be there, not the differential. We tend to create differential by adding a small amount of features and then bringing down the price and saying that, hey, I got it wrong, but now let me get it right.
Right.
So, and this normally happens if your customer insight is very poor.
Right. Is there any
And-
case study where any product which was not flied off from the shelf, but after bringing up the limited edition or something has been tweaked and it then got a success?
I could take an example where it did not click,
Okay.
right? And one is the case of Eon, right, in Hyundai. Overall, the product did not take off as far as it is concerned. But in case of, I would say, is Grand i10, when we brought in the particular product, there was a particular set of customers that we had missed out, right? And we found that they were coming, but we were not able to address them because largely what they were looking, we were not able to give it to them in the particular product. And that is where we recalibrated the variants again. And when this recalibration happened, the volume just skyrocketed, right? And in fact, it became the Indian car of the year.
Yeah.
So there can't be a better success ratio where you're saying is that is the 𝗔𝗏𝗗𝗘 of the industry there.
True. And in fact, Deepangshu, you will see that when products are not doing well, when a mainstream product is not doing well, limited editions cannot help you repair that situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your varianting strategy, which is what Rakesh talked about, is what really helps you.
Right.
Because you need to quickly recalibrate
Right.
your space in the customer's mind.
Got it.
So whether it is to do with the number of variants or the feature benefit package that you offer, or in some cases could also be just the pure price point.
Yes.
Okay, you can make mistakes, and I mean we are human. I mean we do end up making mistakes. We don't always read the customer absolutely correctly. I remember Osamu Suzuki-san used to tell that I will launch 10 products and 7 of them will be failures, but the 3 will succeed so much that they will outweigh, they will completely outweigh the loss of the 7. And that is where the strategic mind of the product planner, the salesperson and the marketer, okay, working with the engineering team comes in creating the right variant. So the SX variant was a classic strategy of the right varianting. So if you see at least I don't know, what I thought as an outsider is Hyundai's idea of the O was a great idea,
Options.
because the O was actually Hyundai's limited edition.
Right.
So you need not launch, you need not shout from the rooftop saying here is my limited edition. But what you are doing is you are telling the customer here is your limited edition
Right.
for you as an individual.
Right.
Okay, and that is where the world is now moving towards,
Right.
which is your edition
Right.
and not a limited edition.
I'll just add on to what Avik is saying, where you're talking about a success. I take the case of Nissan Magnite. Okay, a product launched in one of the most challenging conditions that you can come over in the auto industry. VUCA factor is high. You've just been through Corona. The first phase of Corona has happened around. COVID has happened, right? And you are bringing in a product. Now, during these times, the biggest challenge that anyone has in the product planning is connecting to the customer, because you are seated somewhere else. Right, the connectivity is not happening. You need to read the customers, and you're creating variants. We were able to create total 12 variants.
Okay.
Okay, so it was to be launched with 12 variants, and suddenly we realized that things were changing dramatically in the marketplace in terms of what the customer preferences were happening, because there's a customer which is, if what we say is now today's generation and today's world, we say is there is a pre-COVID customer preferences and after COVID. The auto industry has changed dramatically during these times. So how do you go about it? So we created what we call as special editions, which became regular editions in the product portfolio of ours. From 12 variants, it became 22. And what was done very smartly, all those additional 10 special editions were not called as special editions. They were options and they were brought into it. So when we launched it, we launched with 22 variants. This was one product, single product with 22 variants. And the success is is known in the industry, then the first month of the launch itself, you pick up 32,800 bookings, where the production capacity of yours is just 1,500 odd units. Smartly done, reading the marketplace, picking up the customer insights and building it into the core of the positioning and the product proposition. I think that is where exactly this works very well.
Right.
So this is a classic example I can give you how it gets incorporated and a smart marketing.
Right. Now, as we are seeing in the current market trend, someone is launching black edition, someone is launching jungle edition and all those things, more of a cosmetic changes. Do you think it is also leading to more fatigue, dilution in terms of, because actual limited edition will get lost, people would not believe them anymore. What is your take on that and how customers evolved with these limited edition?
It's again, I guess, these are the new avatars of what possibly Rakesh and I have done when we were in the industry of trying to keep the interest in the product alive. Okay. Personally, I am not a great fan of the black color in a car in an ecosystem like India's. Okay, it works extremely well.
There are various reasons for it.
In the colder European climates. And to me, it's not. It's more to do with the ecosystem, right? And the environment. But then, yes, black is a very popular color, and which is why, and especially if you are in the SUV product category, the black SUV always makes it look far more menacing, far more, let's say, brutish. And that is obviously the reason why lots of brands like, say, a Mahindra or even a Tata, they come out with a black edition. Because people, there is a certain segment of the consumer that does want to express that level of machismo. Okay, I call it the `𝗵𝗁𝗵𝗆 DNA, right? Which is perfectly okay. But does it work? They don't last for long. Okay, few takers for this. I guess the Indian consumer is much more evolved than just 5 years ago. Especially as Rakesh said, the post-COVID Indian consumer is far more mature. Okay, than just 2019. I mean, there's been a rapid shift. Okay, what they need, what they want, they openly express. I was just going through that research report by Park Plus on what consumers need. Consumers are wanting ventilated seats, and yes, why not? This is a hot country. It's obvious, isn't it? So consumers are not looking at larger screen sizes in their vehicles. I mean, they're at the end of the day, pardon me for saying so, I mean, I don't believe in this entire thing of software on wheels. Okay, it's actually trivializing the importance of the motor car or the motor vehicle. And you are out there to buy a car, not to buy a television set, right? So, and consumers are now expressing it. They don't want sunroofs in a hot country like India. They want ventilated seats. They want things which actually bring them long-term benefits, okay? Enhance their comfort, enhance their convenience. Because driving in India is becoming more and more problematic, given the congestion, okay? Also given the number of cars that we've sold over all these years, and we are possibly selling more cars in the same places, okay, which is leading to more congestion, right? People want as much of comfort as possible while they are driving, okay? Therefore, in that context, if you can bring out limited editions which enhance that comfort quotient, that will be relevant again to the customer. And then, as Rakesh said, differentiated, not differential. It's differentiated. Okay, so for example, if Maruti can come out actually with a 3-door Swift, awesome.
Yes,
absolutely awesome, because that's what the world drives. Okay, if they can come out with a 1.6 Swift Sport, brilliant, because that is truly differentiated offering in the marketplace. And I always believe, not just car makers, but car makers, two-wheeler makers, it is the industry leaders who actually have the responsibility of creating differentiated offers in the market. Okay, it's their responsibility. So it rests on a Maruti, it rests on a Hero MotoCorp. Okay, it rests on a Honda and Honda. It rests on possibly a Hyundai.
Right.
Okay, to come out with truly differentiated offers in the marketplace.
Not just
To
cosmetic
keep,
upgrades.
Not
just
cosmetic, because that is the only way you will actually keep the relevance of the limited edition alive.
Right.
Otherwise, the customers are going to tell you, stop doing all this. Okay, these are farcical things. Don't waste your money and don't waste our time.
Right.
Stop doing it.
Now, so at this age where we are, we have simulation, we have 3D world now, and the product life cycle, the prototypes time is getting shortened. So why not have a hyper personalization as a concept in Indian car market? Rakesh sir, what's your take on that?
So I'll just add on to what first Avik just said, is that limited editions or special editions will sell, right, and meet the purpose when there is a wow factor in it, right. Unfortunately, most of these that have been brought in are largely looking forward towards addressing gaps rather than adding on. And when the wow is not there, the customer then feels that, okay, fine, that you're addressing your problem, but you're not actually addressing something what I require. And your problem is your problem. The brand is not taken off, or you're looking forward towards managing the product life cycle, because right from the fresh launch to the what you call as a minor change, the gap has become more larger because your R&D is not being able to keep pace, or there's a supply chain issue. No, there has to be a wow factor there. Wow factor there. Then only you'll be able to address this. And this is what I was saying, is that the clarity of purpose is very much important. The relevance is very much important. Second thing is, when you have researched for months and months and years and identified a positioning, do not sacrifice it just based on few of the data parts that have come over after the launch and saying that, hey, this product is not taken off. Bring in a particular special edition, right, towards enhancing or building on the positioning rather than letting go of. And many times we have seen that products have deviated with the special edition and new positionings have been created.
Right.
And this is where the problem that comes over there. So I think these are few things that needs to be addressed what Avik was saying.
Yeah, brand dilution, which is exactly what he's talking about.
Yes.
And it's very easy to to fall prey to the initial response. I've always believed, and he's always believed that, there's something called this euphoria.
Yeah.
Let the dust settle down. It's only after a good 6 to 8 months of a product launch do you actually realize whether the product is working or not.
Classic example is Swift itself.
Yeah.
Right. I give a lot of credit to Avik. He was the brand manager for Swift, and he launched the Swift. Swift initially, when it was launched, was not an overall success in every regional space.
Yeah.
The first place that it hit success was in Western India, right? And Northern India channel partners were challenged, right, by the managing director there, Mr. Khatter, that if it can sell there, why not here? Because they were missing on the core positioning. They were trying to sell Swift like a regular Maruti product. Swift was not a regular Maruti product. It was a global product, right, addressing a different set of customers. And being in Western India at that point of time, the customers that I saw coming into the showroom of Maruti were far, far different, and which we had never ever seen in our life.
Exactly.
In Maruti showrooms.
Exactly.
People coming in Bermuda shorts, right, because what were Maruti customers coming in? Right, they were into those regular things, right, a regular way of life, etc. Here comes in a guy, right, and there comes in people around in flip-flops, right, Bermuda shorts, and the decision making is quick, immediate. I like it. I want it now. Right? While in Northern India, right, it was a different story. You're trying to sell the same like a Maruti product, looking forward towards trying it. And when, right, this example was reworked and we were able to sell the product on the strength of it, right, to the core of its positioning, it was a phenomenal success.
Right.
The second example that I can bring it out to you, right from the first day, which did not bring in the right kind of the kind of volumes of the customers was challenged was WagonR itself. You look at WagonR, it did not succeed in the first phase of its launch, in the initial days of launch against the Santro. It was seen as a Me Too product, but a different kind of a product altogether. And that is where the challenge came in there. Today, if you look at it, in the auto industry, the highest sold product today is WagonR and Swift. And Santro is not in existence today.
Exactly, the Santro's gone.
Santro is gone. Big learning there, do not deviate from your purpose. Do not deviate from your positioning. And this is what I have been continuously telling, right, and have been working with the team, because many times you get into these pressures, it's not taken off. So we need to do this, we need to do that, and then you say, stop. Purpose, what is it? Do not let the core of the positioning go away.
I call this the 𝗘𝗧𝗵𝘆 effect.
Yeah.
It is the 𝗘𝗧𝗵𝘆 effect.
Right.
So, and I've experienced it twice in my first hand in my career with the Zen. When it was launched in 1993, it didn't take off. Very difficult to position it. People were comparing it with the Maruti 800. Again, it was a very un-Maruti to come in at that point of time. And then, 12 years later with the Swift,
Right.
it was a very un-Maruti. Okay, so it takes time. And as Rakesh correctly talked about the WagonR. I mean, look at it. All competition's gone away. The WagonR is in its 5th generation now. Okay, and it's possibly going to come out in an electric avatar very soon.
Right.
That's the strength of the brand, because you haven't deviated from its core purpose,
Right.
which is a functional bread box is a functional bread box. And it's wonderful to own a functional bread box.
Yes.
It does very well. You can't live life without bread. Okay. So do not deviate from there. You can always get into issues. And do you remember too many of WagonR limited editions? No. Not really required it.
Right.
Okay, because the product team there, along with the designers and the entire team together, has possibly kept refreshing the vehicles so nicely, so smoothly over the years. Some have worked, some have not worked. Okay, that the brand continues to be one of the biggest success stories.
I can recall one product for Zen Estilo was a big disaster.
Oh yes, it was, because you deviated from the brand purpose.
Yeah.
Very much.
So,
You see,
all the color cosmetics.
If you forcibly paste or stick a badge on a vehicle which was designed thinking of a different kind of a customer altogether, okay, because the Zen Estilo was nothing but the Suzuki MR, the MR wagon. Okay, the MR wagon is a wagon. The customer does not look at the Zen's DNA as a wagon. The Zen is the classic two-door hatchback. The classic two-box hatchback, sorry. The two-box hatchback. And when you bring a body shape and you forcibly stick a badge on it, it will not do well. And again, as he has said, the customer is far more clever than you can ever think as a marketer. The customer sees through all your frivolous marketing escapades, okay, and just tells you that, boss, this doesn't work. Don't try to make a fool out of me. I don't buy it.
So many times what happens exactly is when you're part of a particular journey in the auto industry, right, and it does happen, you feel that, okay, fine, you're far more empowered, right, to decide for the customer. Yes, you should be deciding for the customer, but at the end of the day, it's the customer, right, who's far, he has the ultimate power with him. You may be empowered towards taking a decision on behalf of the customer, but the ultimate power lies in the hands of the customer, the hand that holds the money.
Got it.
Right? And this is where many of the times customers have taught us, right, that, okay, fine, you can decide for me, but I will decide finally what I buy. A classic example, as he was talking about, right, in case of WagonR, a product which did not keep up to the expectations, right? See, at some point of time, what happens is that a product actually starts and then takes a full model change as well, right? But it goes on certain product life cycle. The new Santro that came in did not live up to the expectations. And that's the reason why it does not exist today. the Sandro brand has disappeared from India. Again, a similar challenge there. But okay, fine. It deviated from the core of its positioning, the tall boy, right? People thought that, okay, fine, the customers have evolved, right? And this is a new Zen customer or a new world customer, and let me bring it out in a different way. And that is where, right from the inception, from the first day of the launch, it did not generate the kind of success that it should have, because the mother brand was so strong, Sandro.
Right.
But the next one did not. So we are going away from special edition and limited edition, right? We are talking about a full model change. But the point I wanted to drive is that do not deviate from the core of your positioning. Something which has been successful because of X, Y, Z reasons. Add on to it, just do not get onto it that some marketing person or someone who was seated earlier, right, it is and I am new or I am different and I will do something different around. Many times we do have these challenges also. Personality challenges, creating positioning challenges which leads to failure of a particular product. It is good, right? And we've always seen, and in fact, let me because I've worked with 𝗏𝗏𝗏, right? The strength comes in being connected with the customer, going in the field, talking to the customer, the channel partners, and then taking a decision. I think he did great about it, right? I have observed it also from the opposition side and also being part of the same team, the way he has been able to do it there. Not being an armchair marketing person seated there and then trying to decide, or being a product planning person seated with on Excel sheets and trying to decide what feature and what benefits at what costs. Connect with the customer, address the core.
Right.
And the core should be of special edition, limited edition should be is to enhance the brand.
Right.
Make it as a strategic part, not as tactical. Because tactics, right, are all short term, short lived.
Right.
Anything done very strategic lasts longer.
Right.
Tactical, one monsoon, next monsoon you do not see the thing there happening around.
Right.
So this is where it is that when a limited edition or a special edition is brought in terms of commemorative things, bringing in the aspirational quotient, it lasts longer.
Got it.
It resonates with the brand, right, builds the brand, and actually, right, people take pride in it. And they still hold that particular limited edition. Normally, we've also seen in the marketplace, the true, right, test of any product, it's its resale value. We've always seen limited editions which have been very successful, having a higher resale value than the normal product itself. The normal product on which the limited edition or special edition has been brought, because there is a sense of pride to it. This is where I think few things.
So I take another classic example, a wonderful example of another limited edition is the Bajaj V. Such a great idea. Okay, and try to buy a V in the resale market, you will not get it. Because that emotional connect of that story, that it has been crafted out of the metal taken from the IMS Vikrant.
Yes.
I mean, gives you goosebumps actually as an Indian. Okay, what a great idea. Okay, of creating a limited edition, the V. A brilliant piece of, and I would say not just marketing, it is much beyond marketing. This is where the brand actually understands the pulse and the ethos of the customer and the nation. That's very important. And in that context, what you asked, Dipanshu, is I would say that, as Rakesh was saying, you stay true to your positioning and your personality, and you allow your customer now to get into hyper personalization. So you don't mess around with your core, but around your core.
But you get customers to play with that.
Exactly. Yes. Today, technology interfaces allow you, okay, to allow your customer, while you keep your core absolutely intact, you allow your customer to personalize around that core. And that is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even the varianting strategy now, for every 15,000 to 20,000 you add to a model, you get a new variant. Already OEMs are working on so much of hyper personalization. How do you see, Rakesh sir, where we draw the line?
See, to me, varianting strategy, if you look at it exactly, is that today when we have a car population of almost around car ownership of 34 over 1,000 people, right, which basically means that we need to address, right, mobility still. And the dynamics in India change very much from one price point to another price point, depending upon your annual income or affordability around. I raised this question at some point of time to some of our colleagues there, and I got a very beautiful answer. It's like when you are creating a product, okay, it's like a water flowing from upstream to downstream, right? And what you do is you tend to create nets, right, at a very, very shorter distance, so that the fish that is coming in from there, if it misses the first one, right, because it's got more strength and larger in size, it jumps over the net, then the second one captures it, or the third one. So you are able to create in a certain set of distance many nets, and at the end of the day you will catch the fish. Many of the times, many companies or many marketing people have created fewer nets. So between one variant and the other variant, the gap is as much as around 1.5 lakhs. So what happens, the customer continues to move between the gap of 1.5 lakh, right, that is there, and he does not find a fit for himself. Either he finds a feature that he is looking forward towards missing, which is at the upper level, but he can't pay for it, or there is something else, a challenge coming over. So varianting strategy is very much important. I believe no one does better than this on Maruti, right, on Hyundai, right, and maybe in Magnite when we did 22 variants, when I said is that, right, 12 regular and 10, because we said that fishnet approach, that if the customer comes in, he should not escape out of mind.
But do you think it also confuses people?
It doesn't. If you
because I'll extract one example. Tata Nexon has around 48 or 49 variants.
That's too much, no? That's again, it's too much. See, you have to have a balance of it. You just can't be having one net next to the other net.
Right.
Where will the fish come in there? Right, so it is going to jump over all the nets around, right, and they're just going to be fly over all the nets and land up into someone else's basket. So you have to be actually giving some space there, right, and that is the varianting strategy, that is where it works about it.
See, having 48 or 49 variants,
yes,
basically means you are doing the customer's job of hyper personalization yourself.
Yourself, that's what I
And that to me is not good business sense.
Right.
So, because the customer should actually feel extremely happy doing his or her own bit of personalization.
Yeah, he should feel the win.
But you are robbing the customer of that.
Yeah.
At the same time, but when you are showing the customer so many options, you might actually be confusing the customer, and the customer might end up jumping the net and going somewhere else. So, is that a very sustainable strategy? To my mind, my limited understanding, no. You should allow that bit of personalization, just throw it open to the customer, and that might actually end up being far more profitable for you as a brand.
So I'll just add on to it. When you're talking about personalization here, I think as an OEM, I can do a limited amount of it, but I can do a lot if I partner with my channel partners. I give them an opportunity to do it, because then they are able to address every customer's requirement of personalization, right, and able to fill those gaps by way of adding on the accessories or putting on certain things more which are available in the marketplace. Partner your partner, not just give them a particular product and say, okay, fine, now it's up for you for take the sales around. No, you need to partner them, and this is where a lot of hyper personalization can happen at the channel partner level.
Right.
And this is sometimes gets missed out, and that creates a challenge. But this is where if you do it right away, right, if you have even a larger gap, but if you partner with your partner and allow them the flexibility, two things happen. You get more customers. Second thing is the dealer viability also tends to strengthen. And at the end of the day, as an OEM, you are having a larger gain, because you sell volumes.
Yeah, they get more reasons to talk to customers as well.
Exactly, and as far as the grapevine tells me, Maruti is working on a program of hyper personalization. Okay, they have a team.
I think that
in
they
place.
started with Brezza something, some roof
that
colors.
was still that was. I think those were still testing waters.
Ignis and Brezza was the
so
two
if you
products.
remember when the Swift was launched, we tried doing stuff like putting roof graphics and so on and so forth, making them available to the dealer. So Maruti again is, it's like Maruti need not always be the first, but when it comes out with something, it has to be the best. So it will take its time, right? You have to be patient. Now I think they've learned, they've put all the learnings together, and now they're getting into a hyper personalization program. The grapevine tells me that there is a team in place which is doing this exactly as we speak.
All right.
Right? And well, I guess, and as a market leader, given the vehicle park that they have, and also the number of vehicles that they offer, for them it makes wonderful business sense. And the other thing I would add to what Rakesh was saying, that you need to protect your warranty when you are doing your hyper personalization at the network end.
All right.
That is the biggest bugbear of the customer. Will my warranties remain? You need to ensure that, and for that, whatever structural, operational enhancements you need to make at your network end, please do that.
And how do we differ from hyper personalization and modification aftermarket?
Hyper personalization, modification is a part of hyper
hyper-personalization.
personalization. Okay, for example, for me to go and remap my chip and do this and do that, and now with electric mobility coming in, it is much easier because everything is basically on
Software. Yeah.
on software. Okay, basically on your chips. Right. You can do what you want to do, but it's just that it's a very new technology. Okay, so I don't think anybody would really want to play too much with it, especially when it comes to issues of thermal runways and charging and heat and so on. But I guess at least in ICE vehicles, to keep the relevance of ICE vehicles alive, getting into hyper personalization may be a wonderful strategy actually for companies.
Again, on the special edition as well, one element tends to get missed out, which maybe the other industries do it well, and auto also does it well at times. The wow factor or the pride, right? It should just not be limited to the product itself. The people should be able to express it themselves, and that is where in showroom merchandise, right, plays a very, very strong role. If you are taking pride in it, right, that I am different than the other one, right, you should be able to wear it well, which some of the industries do it, right, and it also, maybe it gets also done in the auto industry. When I was talking about the Palio, right, the Sachin Tendulkar edition that came in, there was a merchandise to it, cricket bats, other things were being brought in, a particular set of merchandise in terms of t-shirts, etc. being created. BMW as well does it, so does Mercedes as well. Bring in that element where the wow factor is there in the product and the pride of the ownership is with the person there. So it has to be just not left to the product, it has to be a full program. This is where at times it gets missed out, because when it is driven towards addressing a challenge in the marketplace as a tactical one, then you're not bringing in as a strategic one, and this will not come into your place in mind.
So thank you so much for joining us today. It was nice interacting with you. Wonderful insights. Hyper localization is the way to forward in the Indian OEM market. Thank you.